What's up, everybody? Today we're checking out how US forces destroyed Iran's entire navy. Listen, the war with Iran is just getting stranger and stranger by the minute, if I'm honest with you. And although I am covering some of the news in the video the other day that I've done and stuff like that, it's also really nice to go to people like Cappy Army, Chris over there, and I think he has a team of people working with him, who do some absolutely incredible videos, diving deep specifically on certain subjects within the war. In this case, the Navy, Iran's Navy being destroyed. So I'm really excited to watch this. You know how much I love Cappy Army's videos. I think he's for military news, I think he's probably the best on YouTube. And I'm very excited to watch this and see where this is going. I will leave a link down below to Cappy Army's YouTube channel. They're currently sat at 741,000 subscribers. I know there's a bunch of you watching this that aren't subscribed to his channel, so go over there, give him a subscribe. He really does deserve it. Before we get started, though, as always, check out Chug, 10% off, link down below for the best drinking vessel in the world. This is an absolutely fantastic bit of kit. You can take the inside out, so you can put this in your dishwasher and protect your wood. You can protect your wood, guys, all right? Always protect your wood. Really important that you do that. Also, before we get started, check out Morale if you haven't already. If you are watching a lot of military content, especially with the stuff that's going on in Iran and the Middle East, and it can be quite a lot. And so I really want to persuade you to get outside. Get outside as much as possible. Listen, spring is upon us. The flowers are booming. The daffodils are out. Today in the UK and yesterday, the sun is shining. It's beautiful. People are outside. Get yourself outside. That's the mission we're doing with Morale. Last little sip before I get started. If you're in the UK, you can buy the drink right now. If you're not, we hope to get the drink available in the US and other places very, very soon. Other than that, let's pull this up and let's have a cheeky peek on what he's got to say. Let me turn subbies on as well.
The live conflict map behind me shows the United States just launched a massive wave of strikes against Iran's naval forces.
We used that website, that map, on my previous video. Fantastic. If you want to look at not only the war in Iran, but also the Ukraine war and stuff like that, they do a really good live visuals on what's going on and whereabouts it's going.
Reportedly destroying all 11 of their warships and multiple enemy attack submarines. Shit, here we go again. But how did they do it? And what new actions is the United States taking to affect regime change in Iran? What's the increasing evidence that a ground operation is right on the horizon? And how is Iran retaliating as the war escalates? I'm your average infantryman, Chris Cappy. Let's find out. Chairman of the...
My brother works at a holiday agency company, and he was at work late last night because they're having to redirect flights and move things around to help people because they're stuck in certain places. They can't get out. We know that the airport in Dubai was shut down. It has just become an absolute shit show, hasn't it, really?
Joint Chiefs of Staff General Dan Kane told reporters at the Pentagon that the first U.S. shooters at sea were Tomahawks unleashed by the United States Navy, which closed in on Iranian naval forces and began to conduct strikes across the southern flank in Iran. A quick note, this footage that you're looking at right here, right now, isn't random training footage. This is the U.S. government released combat footage from the strikes on the Iranian Navy.
Wow.
And you can tell it's real because they're firing them off in quick succession. And boom, millions of dollars. Boom, millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And they don't do that in training. So this is unlike anything we've seen before. So that's
It's
really
pretty amazing footage, really, isn't it?
interesting because the choice of weapon there tells us something. The last time the US fought Iran's navy and destroyed half their navy in a day in 1988 during Operation Praying Mantis, they actually used anti-ship missiles. Instead, today, they're using Tomahawk cruise missiles because they have a much longer standoff range.
Interesting.
So they never are even within range of most types of enemy fire.
Well, why not? Just keep your stuff safe. Really? If they can do it, why not?
This negated the tactics that the IRGC in Iran had prepared for years. U.S. Tomahawk cruise missiles launched from seas hundreds of miles away slammed into Iran's INS Markran. I'm sorry, I've never seen this many Tomahawk cruise missiles fired in quick succession before.
I thought that was a looped video at first. Like just the same clip over and over again, but it's not. These are all individual. Do you know how much money that was we just saw on screen there? Good God. Good God. That's like more money than a lot of countries have.
I think I might be having a stroke.
Oh
the
my
Iranian
God.
Navy's INS Makran was basically a giant former oil tanker that they did a pimp my ride conversion to, and they turned it into an expeditionary mobile base, like a homemade aircraft carrier, but for drones. It was just officially put into Iran's service only 5 years ago in 2021.
It's kind of cool though, to be honest, how they've done that. It is literally just an oil tanker, isn't it, that they've adapted. That's actually quite a cool idea. For a country that doesn't have a massive military industrial complex like America, where it can make very, very specifically customized ships, just to kind of be like, hey, should we just transfer one? That's actually a pretty good idea for a country like Iran.
Her goal in the fight was to send special forces and launch speedboats to lay sea mines. The ship planned to launch helicopters and attack drones against the United States Navy. This ship is massive. To put it into context, it's 100,000 deadweight tonnage, making it one of the largest naval vessels on Earth.
Wow.
It's about the same size as America's aircraft carriers. Now it's just a burning, smoldering wreck. A moment of silence, please, for all of the Iranian Navy ships that were destroyed in 2026. This was only the beginning of the destruction of Iran's Navy, though. CENTCOM's official account posted a video saying, quote, 2 days ago, the Iranian regime had 11 ships in the Gulf of Oman. Today, they have 0. The Iranian regime has harassed and attacked international shipping in the Gulf of Oman for decades. Those days are over. Freedom of maritime navigation has underpinned American and global economic prosperity for more than 80 years. U.S. forces will continue to defend it. But I want to be real with you guys here just for a second, if I can. As you're hearing about all of these American military victories and how the U.S. military is precise with their bombs and they're very destructive, at the same time, we need to keep in mind that a lot of times the real challenge is often what comes after that. Normally, it would take us weeks to find out the details, but publicly available satellite tasking instantly reveals the results of the fight.
It is crazy seeing a war like this take place in 2026. I mean, we've seen how weird it is watching the Ukraine-Russia war, because we see footage. We're able to go on YouTube channels like United 24 and see like GoPro footage, like mounted on someone's camera on YouTube of a legit war. Like, we watched a video where someone got shot in the neck, which is weird, by the way, when we watched that video. I had a friend of mine come around, Richie, shout out to Richie. He filmed the intro video for Morale a while back. He's a good friend of mine. Anyway, he was in the army and his mate was in the army with him. And I recorded that. For anyone who's watched back in the day when I was watching the Ukraine footage, maybe it was like a year ago, and we watched this footage of a lad like looking around the corner in a trench, gets shot in the neck and instantly like goes down. He survives. Anyway, I recorded that video, put it out. A couple of days later, Rich comes over to my house to have a good chat, you know, just seeing how he is and all that. Like, he goes, oh, my mate's in UK. He got shot in the neck. I'm like, wait, what? You know him? And we were like chatting about him and stuff. He sent him a message. And crazy small world, especially in the British military. You're always 1 or 2 people away from knowing someone who's done something, you know?
Most notable, I think, is the destruction of Iran's Shahid Bagheri, which is their version of an aircraft carrier. It's basically their mothership drone carrier. So I guess you could say it's the first aircraft carrier to be sunk since World War II. This is not how many analysts thought this fight would go. All of these frigates with long-range anti-ship missiles that were supposed to hit American carriers were just totally freaking blown up out of nowhere. Iran's naval bases in Kanarak and Bandar Abbas are in flames. Why aren't American forces focusing fire on Iran's navy? To dive deeper into that, we'll use this episode's sponsor, Ground News, to analyze this story, because
I am going to skip the sponsor as always. However, you should check out Ground News. They're amazing.
Statement just yesterday saying they were blockading and cutting off access to the Strait of Hormuz. The stock markets predictably took a huge nosedive on this information.
That reminds me, actually, we're probably going to see quite a price hike on oil prices. It does make sense why the US took Venezuela right before it started this war, because oil prices were going to go through the roof, and now all of a sudden they've got Venezuela's frigging oil reserves.
Because 30% of seaborne oil travels through there. The Islamic Republic said that they would fire on any ship trying to pass through the critical economic choke point. I spoke to Sal from What's Going On with Shipping, an expert in this, and he told me that some ships are still trying to go through, running dark on their transponders, but that total transits are down by 80%. Because we know that over the past few decades, the IRGC has built a huge backlog of lethal sea mines and naval capabilities that are specifically designed to block the flow of oil from the Gulf states to the market.
Yeah.
This has always been their greatest leverage, geopolitically speaking, to inflict maximum pain on global markets. See how the live maritime tracking behind me shows that ship movement has moved to a crawl, although ships with transponders off may be trying to run the gauntlet still. So due to this choke points vulnerability, US forces began to systematically destroy Iran's navy. And this is a shocking development, because after Operation Praying Mantis in 1988, Iran has specifically trained and equipped to prevent exactly this kind of scenario from happening again. And
when I was at the end of my time in the Royal Marines, there was a lot of lads who left the Royal Marines specifically to do maritime security. Like, this became massive, and the Marines there were people leaving left, right, and center because you were getting paid crazy amount of money for doing the shit that I was doing anyway off the Gulf. I was doing anti-piracy. That's what my job was. That's what my bread and butter was. And there was lads leaving the Corps to do it privately because we were getting paid a shit ton of money. It does make me wonder whether that's happening again right now in the military, where the lads are leaving because I bet the contracts and the prices people are paying for private maritime security right now is through the roof.
Yet it happened again. Iran's entire Navy doctrine was changed over the years based on that catastrophe. They came up with a plan to overwhelm American ships with swarms of fast attack boats. They planned to fire land-based anti-ship missiles at US forces. They had a whole strategy of using their submarine to ambush US vessels. The fast attack boat strategy failed, though, because it was designed for the 1990s scenario.
Yeah.
It's no longer relevant today.
Yeah.
The IRGC was supposed to get up close with a salvo of rockets and missiles, which a saturation attack in confined waters. But by 2026, that strategy was dead in the water.
Yeah.
Persistent drone coverage and surveillance assets by America of modern day technology prevented the IRGC and their fast attack boats from ever launching or getting close. And that would be a for certain one-way trip to meet the Ayatollah. So it's kind of difficult to get a bunch of people to rally them together and say, hey, let's go charge that American warship.
It's such a bad thing to do.
The reason this strategy failed in this war so far was articulated well by Aaron Matthew Lariosa of the Naval Expert, writing for USNI, saying, quote, American naval forces in the region have been geared against these swarm threats, including Hellfire-armed Seahawk helicopters aboard the Abraham Lincoln carrier. Littoral combat ships forward deployed to the U.S. Fifth Fleet also had the potential to equip a surface warfare mission package designed to defeat small boats and drone attacks. So it turns out those littoral combat ships are not littorally useless after all. CENTCOM reported they targeted Iran's submarine fleet as well. They knocked out a number of their midget submarines. Don't worry, I can use that word, I'm 5'9". Iran's surface fleet was worth an estimated $6 billion, and its underwater submarines around $3 billion, for a total of nearly $10 billion worth of naval equipment destroyed.
$10 billion. And how quickly was it destroyed? Look at the size of that sub. That's actually hilarious. But still, $10 billion worth of naval equipment destroyed. Wow.
However, it doesn't mean Iran hasn't been able to make the waters lethal. Reportedly, the first unmanned one-way attack drone hit several defenseless commercial ships, killing at least one person from Iran's attacks. And then something crazy happened. During the battle, the IRGC in Iran claimed they had, quote, struck the USS aircraft carrier Abraham Lincoln with 4 ballistic missiles. They warned local state media, saying, the land and sea will increasingly become the graveyard of terrorist aggressors, referring to America. But is that true, or is it misinformation? This is the video slop that IRGC channels started posting all over X, saying that they had struck an American carrier. US refuted that their aircraft carrier was hit by posting video evidence that the carrier was still operational and launching aircraft. They said that no missiles got close to it. But why would the Islamic Republic of Iran lie to you and me? How could they do us like that? Because it's not meant for you and me. Since access to the outside world and information inside the country is tightly prevented and controlled, the statement is to the population to fool them. It's an attempt by the regime to keep stability, because even if 10% of people believe that message, it'll help them stay in power.
This is why I say all the time that information is the most important thing during a war. Information is so important. It's more important than anything else. The more information you have, the better. This is why they cut off the internet in Iran, so that they could do shit like this and just put out misinformation all the time to misdirect their citizens. It's ridiculous.
However, the statement from the US implies that Iran did try to hit the carriers with missiles, which means that the threat is still there and that this could potentially happen. It's a big concern. And we don't know how close those missiles got to the aircraft carrier. So far, the worst piece of US military equipment destroyed by Iranian ballistic missiles is 2 THAAD radar sites inside the UAE. Each one of them, I heard, are worth between $500 million to $1 billion. The US only has 8 THAAD batteries, so we're talking about almost like priceless piece of equipment here.
Yeah.
We do suspect and have reason to believe that an
That's
Iranian ballistic missile did successfully strike a defenseless commercial vessel that was contracted by the US Navy as an oil tanker in Bahrain. The attack killed 1 Asian maritime worker at the port.
That's a
Iran's
shame.
ballistic missile attacks and drones have continued to hit sea and airports throughout the region.
It's mental how Iran's response to this is just like attack everything and everyone around me. It's crazy, isn't
And
it?
they're starting to attack oil infrastructure in Saudi Arabia. Satellite images show extensive destruction at the Saudi Arabian largest oil field. Iran launched a combined over 400 ballistic missiles over the past 4 days at all states in the region so far. But that volume of fire, notably, is actually far slower than the 12-day war between the US, Israel, and Iran in 2025. Tehran is not sending as large of salvos of missiles like they did back in 2025, which
Do they just
tells me
not have
something
them?
interesting. Well, it's a little bit unclear if that's a tactical choice by them to save stockpiles, or if it's because a lot of their launchers and missiles were destroyed over the
Yeah, they might just not have them. It's as simple as that. Which is crazy, isn't it? How quickly Iran have just flopped here.
past 2 years and last few days. The Islamic Republic of Iran's goal here, though, I believe, is to put as much economic pressure and as much cost as possible onto the United States and its allies to
Yeah.
get them to capitulate and ask the US. The allies would ask the US to call off the attack at that point and to pressure the US to get a ceasefire before any regime change is inflicted. That's
No.
what Iran's goal is.
It's not going to work though, is it? Regime change is inevitable now. I think we can all agree with that, right?
So the continued missile and drone attacks are an indication that the individual IRGC commanders still remain loyal to their mission, and they're fighting as hard as they can against the United States and Israel. It is a battle of the wills. The naval battle has so far not gone well for Iran, but it was not for lack of trying. Just look at how over the past few weeks leading up to the war, Iran trained with Chinese and Russian ships, drilling to avoid this exact scenario. Just think of how this changes the balance of power in the region now.
Yeah.
Now that Iran's navy has been entirely sunk, their ability to threaten to close the Strait of Hormuz has been greatly diminished, if not removed off the playing field entirely.
It does make me wonder how much regime change do they actually want? Do they want it to the point of they want someone in power that is going to be a hardcore ally to the US and Israel? It wouldn't surprise me. And then you start seeing American bases pop up in Iran. That's how much regime change they want, America and Israel? Maybe. Maybe they want it that bad.
While the ongoing conflict is happening, the Strait of Hormuz is going to be shut down either way, though. With the naval pieces of the puzzle underway, take a look at where bombing runs have targeted on land. The live conflict map shows targets all along the border being hit. The authorities, their security centers are being bombed on the western border of Iran. And why is that? They don't pose that much of a strategic threat, so why is the United States aiming at them? They're focusing fire on the western border, in part because it's part of their plan in hope to pave the way for Kurdish militia groups to be able to move over land. These Kurdish militias already have thousands of combat-proven soldiers along the Iran-Iraq border. There are now reports that since last year, the CIA and Mossad have been smuggling weapons into western Iran to give to Kurdish fighters in order for them to launch a ground campaign in the next few days.
100 million% I believe that. 100 million%.
If American air power is able to clear the way. It's the only reason why you would see these random police stations in Western Iran getting hit by million-dollar bombs. They control strategic areas as it is. If Iran's forces were degraded enough, it could be a significant sector to watch as the war develops. Because Trump spoke with the Kurds over the phone on Sunday, according to the Wall Street Journal. He's negotiating a way for the Kurds to try to fill the power vacuum in Iran that American and Israeli forces are creating. This would mean inserting U.S. special forces into the Kurdish groups in Iraq to arm them. And
that's probably already done. They've probably already done that. We're probably just catching up to what's actually happening here.
Assist their assault into Iran, similar to what their mission was at the beginning of the war in Afghanistan. With all these munitions flying around in chaos, a major accident happened. 3 U.S. F-15 fighter jets were shot down by Kuwaiti air defense systems.
Yeah, we covered that in our video the other day as well, by the way. There was a few things we covered and we ended up finding more information out about as well, like the school bombing that happened as well that killed all them young girls. Absolutely tragic. Turned out to be an Iranian missile that misfired and hit it. Absolutely devastating.
All of the pilots reportedly managed to eject safely and survived.
There was a video of the pilot being surrounded by people and he's like, no, I'm American, leave me alone, leave me alone.
There were strange encounters filmed between them and confused Kuwaiti people on the ground, who at first thought that they were engaging with Iranian pilots.
I saw that.
And they threatened to attack them.
This is the video.
But then they cleared everything up. One man was very appreciative to this pilot.
Everything good? No problem. Thank you for helping us. Everything perfect?
And shout out to this pilot's baller mustache. Now, these aircraft were shot down by enemy fire, but that would mean you'd have to...
I wonder what the SOPs are there at showing the faces of these pilots on YouTube. Because in truth, you gotta keep the secrets. I know they're not SF, but you got to keep them sneaky beaky still. The pilots, they're officers in the U.S. military.
Except that all of the pilots lie about it, and that none of these pilots are given the medals that they would get for having been downed by enemy fire, which would be unlikely. The footage has been geolocated to over Kuwait as well, which means it's less likely to be enemy fire because Iran doesn't have air defense missile systems stationed close enough to Kuwaiti airspace that they could shoot them down over that area. It's not impossible, but these factors make it unlikely. Kuwait acknowledged the mistake because deconflicting airspace with enemy drones coming at you and you have seconds to either shoot them down or not, and if you're wrong, it could mean you're dead. It's a lot of pressure, and add on to that everyone is speaking different languages, and this is an embarrassing mistake that happens. The battle moves from the sea to...
That's what happens with war. Like, mistakes happen, and there's unfortunate circumstances and byproducts of what is a absolutely horrific thing that happens in the world. It's just the way it is, isn't it?
For land, where there are 3 objectives. 1, degrade Iran's nuclear capabilities. 2, degrade their ability to govern. And 3, destroy all ballistic missile launchers. To that point, take a look at this footage just released by the U.S. military of new B-1 bomber runs and B-2 Spirit stealth bombers that ran bombing missions last night over Iran and were escorted by F-35 fighters that dropped thousands of pounds of bombs on Iran's nuclear facilities, specifically the missile facilities, because they're attempting to knock out the mobile launchers and the underground missile bases.
Look at that. It's a UFO. That's a UFO. Come on, look at it.
The B-2 stealth bomber sorties are designed to attack hardened ballistic missile facilities, though, with 2,000-pound bombs. You can see Natanz is on fire, the nuclear facility. Satellite images show that 2 entrances used by personnel at the Natanz nuclear facility enrichment complex and the entrance for vehicles were severely damaged. We just got confirmation that the old B-52 bomber is now being used in the skies over Iran on bombing runs. These are only used once an opening has been paved and there's no threat to them. A-10 Warthog attack jets have also been dragged out.
A-10s are out there. The Warthogs are out there. Oh my days.
Out of what was near retirement, according to reports. And they've been deployed in the war as well. These assets have flattened Iran's air bases. Massive explosions rocked nuclear facilities in Isfahan. Then there's a concerted effort to hit the Islamic Republic's ability to govern, because Israeli airstrikes hit the building in Qom, used by the Assembly of Experts, which is a council of senior clerics, about 90 members of them, who are responsible for electing Iran's next supreme leader.
Wow.
Which makes it more difficult now for them to replace the supreme leader quickly because it was blown up. The more time in between leaders, the more chaos. According to initial reports, the Israeli Air Force hit the building while the council was in the middle of meeting on who to elect. According to an Israeli official, they struck while they were in the middle of counting the votes to appoint the next supreme leader.
Holy shit. That's insane. They were like in the middle of counting the votes and they all got blown up. Holy crap. That's both terrifying and very impressive on the US military side to be able to conduct something like that at that precise time.
More than 40 of Iran's most senior leaders have already been killed so far, including the former Ayatollah. This has had the effect of fracturing the regime's command structure. It's basically regime change because much of the regime is dead now.
Yeah.
Analysts are estimating over 1,000 Iranian troops have been killed inside of the country so far. So far, 6 U.S. soldiers were KIA in a single attack on a Kuwaiti airbase and 5 injured. Just swinging over now on the live conflict map to the capital of Tehran, and oh my God, it's covered.
Yeah.
Israeli and U.S. fighter aircraft.
I tell you what, there's a lot of people out there now who watch these videos. They watch YouTube, they watch all this stuff. If you're in that area, please be safe. If you've got kids, get the fuck out of there. Get out of there because, my God.
And drones are now operating with total immunity. You see them just casually flying around in the sky, not even that high up during broad daylight, firing hellfires.
Oh my
Iran's
God.
air defense systems have been totally destroyed. Well, not totally destroyed, because this video that was just released shows an Israeli fighter pilot just narrowly avoiding a missile that was fired at it over Tehran.
Wow.
By seeing the targets chosen, we get a better idea of what they're trying to accomplish. This hit targeted the Vardavard Logistics and Support Center, whose role was to store, maintain, and coordinate Iran's military equipment, supplies, and their support elements. So these airstrikes targeted the Mehrabad airport, and the IDF targeted the Thrala headquarters that was used by the regime to suppress protesters. All of these targets suggest to me that they're trying to cripple Iran's ability to stay in control here. A building belonging to the law enforcement command was destroyed. You see the
they're literally just trying to cause as much havoc as possible so that regime change. I mean, like I said earlier, regime change at this point is a certainty. It's gonna happen. It's just now I'm questioning what's the extent. Are they gonna want like a really pro-Israeli US government so that there's some sort of bigger presence of US military bases in Iran? Are they going to want to go that far? Because it wouldn't surprise me.
Quds Force Command Center in Lebanon was targeted. This helicopter factory was destroyed. US and Israeli fighters targeted additional ballistic missile launchers. Here's more footage that was dropped by America's CENTCOM of even more launchers being taken out.
Wow.
Trying to narrow those down from the reported 100 they have left to 0. I'm recording this later in the day, and I have since learned that Iran was actually able to produce more of these ballistic missile launchers in the interim since they were last destroyed. So the estimates were that Iran had 400 of these ballistic launchers,
wow.
and that since then, about 300 have been destroyed.
That's nice that he's done a little update there and correcting some of his information. It's hard to do. When you're on YouTube, you can literally put a video out and then 5 minutes after it's uploaded and published, new information comes out, especially in a war like this where it's changing so quickly.
If they'd knock those out, the underground facilities would still remain, which is why it's such a challenge. From the video evidence I've seen released so far, it appears to be approaching 30 ballistic launchers destroyed. The US government has changed how they've spoken about the conflict. Currently, it appears like they don't know if the air power alone can inflict regime change. They're instead saying the main goal is to destroy Iran's military capabilities. Air power has a...
Do you think we're going to see boots on the ground? As in, like, American soldiers? If you asked me that, like, a couple of weeks ago, I've been like, don't be daft. Right now, wouldn't surprise me.
Historically had its limits. It's unclear if new technologies will be able to overcome all that. The scope of the attack is enormous. Its sights on on the border with Pakistan and Afghanistan were hit hundreds of miles apart. They knocked out the Iranian regime's leadership compound, which is the central headquarters. The command headquarters was one of the most heavily secured assets in Iran. The compound that housed the regime's most senior forum killed all of the people there overnight with a precise strike.
Wow.
Something bizarre that's happening during this is we're finding out the level to which soldiers or government officials are profiting by using access to classified intelligence. So someone made over $500,000 on a suspicious bet that was placed right before Khamenei's death, hours before it happened.
What?
There have long been reports of Al-Qaeda making money in the stock market off advanced knowledge before 9/11. So this isn't exactly anything new, but it's a new form of it. If you're a fighter,
that's a bizarre subject I've never really touched on and thought about. But yeah, like the flow of information and people who know shit that's going to happen before it happens can really profit from it. It's nothing. As someone who's just a former soldier, you don't even think about that stuff, do you?
Fighter pilot or any soldier who knew the war with Iran was about to happen a day in advance could easily make thousands of dollars off of it. It's causing a big problem. The other big problem is many people are concerned about how this might deplete stockpiles of air defense assets. This is a genuine concern because every Patriot fired in the Middle East is one less that could be fired in the Pacific. And they do take a long time to produce. However, production has ramped up by a lot since the war in Ukraine started. Current numbers are about 125 of the most advanced SM-6, 620 of the Patriot missiles, 96 of the THAAD, all in just a year, which means the inventory is...
I'm pretty sure we watched a video on that. It might have been Capiami's video about how many missiles they had and what's the production like.
Isn't totally depleted yet. Although Lockheed Martin and Raytheon would love for us to double that production again.
True.
Right now, it's impossible to tell who's winning because just because you destroy your adversary's military doesn't necessarily mean that you achieve the political goals that you set out to achieve when you started the war. If you want to learn more, you can check out this playlist here or this video right here. I'm your average infantryman, Chris Cappy, ending transmission. The live...
Absolutely fantastic video by Chris over at Capiami. This is such a bizarre start to the year, isn't it? We're in March now, officially 4th of March, and yeah, it just seems to have been a year of crazy military news, doesn't it? I'd love to get your thoughts in the comments. What do you think about regime change? How far do you think it's going to go? What do you think the end game is here? Let me know in the comments. I will leave a link down below to Capiami's videos. Please go over subscribe. If you're not subscribed already, you'd be silly not to. Check out Jug, 10% off link down below. And check out Morale. If you haven't already, go buy yourself some Morale. Get outside, touch some grass, because the news these days can be quite daunting. So other than that, I'll see you in the next video. Have a lovely day. Goodbye.